हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। जैसा कि आप जानते हैं कि मैंने अपने चैनल पर निos के जो डीएलएड स्टडी मटेरियल है उस पर बेस्ड टॉपिक्स पर कुछ सीरीज़ स्टार्ट कर रखी है एंड ये उसी सीरीज़ का पार्ट है। आज का टॉपिक है द वेज अ चाइल्ड थिंक्स। तो वीडियो स्टार्ट करने से पहले चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर लीजिए और बेल आइकन को प्रेस कर दीजिए ताकि आगे आने वाले वीडियोज़ का नोटिफिकेशन आपको टाइमली मिल सके। तो वीडियो को स्टार्ट करते हैं। You come across large number of children every day in your family, in the school, in the market, on the roadside and everywhere around you. You must be interacting with them on innumerable occasions every day. In course of your interactions with a child, what is your feeling about the child? The way he thinks and the way he learns. Is he like any other adult person so far as the ways of thinking and learning are concerned? Do you think the child begins to think and learn when he is in the school? Here are some beliefs about the child and the way a child thinks. A child's mind is like a clean slate to be written upon. A child's mind is in totally dark, which is to be illuminated by knowledge. A child is like a lump of clay, which can be given any shape as desired. A child is like a green plant who should be nurtured. A child's mind is like an empty pot to be filled in by knowledge. Which of these statements do you believe to be appropriately describing the child's mind? It is difficult to know what type of thinking is there in the mind of any individual, irrespective of his age. What are what we are interested from teaching learning point of view is not exactly what is in the mind of the child, but how is he using the mind, and more specifically, how he is thinking. The base of thinking is perception, and perception comes from observing, experiencing, and interacting with objects in the environment. The young child's first interactions with his environment are based almost totally on the sense experiences, mostly by seeing and touching, and sometimes by hearing and also tasting. Many psychologists, prominent among them Piaget and Brunner, believe that perceiving through manipulation of concrete objects forms the basis of human knowledge and thinking. Piaget, the famous Swiss child psychologist, proposed that child's thinking begins with two processes: perception, the knowledge of objects resulting from direct contact with them, and representation, mental imagery of the perceived objects. Of course, for giving shape to the representation, language plays an important part. As teachers, we have to keep in mind some principles of perception so as to facilitate children's thinking process without creating any hindrances. Some of the important principles are as follows, which emerged from the studies of Adelbert Amos Jafar back in 1938 and are getting much attention in recent times. We do not get our perceptions from the objects around us. Our perceptions come from us. It is not to belittle the importance of the object but to highlight the way in which each observer perceives the object. Numbers are quite fascinating to many, while these are dreaded figures for quite a large proportion of people, including adults and children. What we perceive is largely a function of our previous experiences, our assumptions, and our purposes or needs. We are unlikely to alter our perception until and unless we are frustrated in our attempts to do something based on them. If suppose a child has observed her mother combining two bowls of dough into one and preparing a bread of it, she perceives it as the addition to be 1 plus 1 equals to 2. She is not likely to change her perception until she has to add one solid object like a marble with another of the kind. Since our perceptions come from us and our past experiences, it is obvious that each individual will perceive the same object in a unique way. Communication is possible only to the extent that two perceivers have similar purposes, assumptions, and experience. The meaning of a perception is how it causes us to act. When it rains, some people run for shelter and some enjoy dancing in the rain. Their perception of what is happening are different as reflected in their actions. Representation is the process of formation of images of the objects when the object is not in the field of direct observation. In this situation, the child requires to describe the object that is in his or her mind using language in some form or other. Therefore, language is called the vehicle of thought. Conceptualized the structure of the process of knowing or cognition, which he considered invariant in all situations and for all individuals. He stipulated that every child has a mental structure which is activated when it comes across an object, a process, or an event. The child tries the twin processes of assimilation, interpreting the perceived object, process, or event with the existing mental structure, and accommodation, modifying the existing structure to interpret the object, event, or process. When the child strikes a balance between the two processes while trying to internalize the perceived object adaptation, a relatively stable structure takes place. The process of striking a balance between accommodation and assimilation is called equilibration, which is very important in Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Each individual's thought process follows the invariant process of organization and adaptation as equilibration of assimilation and accommodation, yet everyone is unique in his or her ways of thinking. That is because the individuals differ in their perception and representation, in the ways of